Hello SLAPAFISH community, and welcome back to another World Tanks console video. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the top 10 fastest tanks in Cold War. So I did this for World War II about a year ago, and pretty much the list has been unchanged. So I haven't done it from Cold War, so let's do it for Cold War. So basically, let's just start in, and if there's any ties, then the tie will be broken with horsepower per ton, and the fastest tanks is going to be going over their top speed, not improved by like the fuel or the equipment. This is their stocked top speed. So yeah, so number 10 is the Mauler, which is a Era 2 premium Western Alliance tank. So this is a Mauler. It's a decent tank. It goes 70, and it's a premium light tank. It goes 70. Its power to weight ratio is 29.23, and yeah, it's a pretty nice tank with a 6-shot autoloader. Sadly, you can't buy this tank, but it is a pretty decent tank. Now at number 9 is going to be our first tech tree tank, which is the M41 Bulldog, which is a Western Alliance Era 1 light tank. And it's going to be going at 72 horsepower per ton. Now we're going to be having a tiebreaker between the 9th spot and the 8th spot. So the Bulldog goes 72 with a horsepower per ton at 23.41. This is a single shot autoloader. Single shot gun. And it's a tech tree tank, so it comes right after the Chappie and right before the T92. So you can perfectly earn this tank, and it's a pretty decent light tank. It's big, but it's pretty fast, and it's actually a nice light tank. Average damage is 200 damage per shot. Now we move on to number 8, which is our first heavy tank of the list. And it actually beats out the Bulldog. Gets the same speed of the Bulldog at 72 horsepower per ton, and has a horsepower per ton at 27.56. And realizing I forgot to mention the tank's name, which is the Western Alliance Era 3 heavy tank, the M1 Abrams. Yes, this is a heavy tank, and it's number 8 on the list. This is the competition that the light tanks had to fight in Cold War. And this is not the only heavy tank on the list. There's more on this list. So just think about that. Now the M1 gameplay I'm showing you right here is not fully upgraded. If I fully upgraded the tank, I couldn't fully upgrade the tank because the upgrades just cost an arm and a leg, and I don't have that much silver. Like, putting the upgraded turret and the upgraded gun costs about 8 million silver. I'm like, that's more than the tank. Luckily, the engine was free. Luckily. It's a decent tank. Actually had pretty fun, even though I didn't have the upgraded gun or upgraded turret. Now, at number 7 is going to be the TCM. The TCM AGS, which is the newest premium tank in Cold War, which is a Era 3 Western Alliance light tank. And now this is a tie between the 5th, 6th, and 7th spot. The TCM AGS goes at 72.4. Its horsepower per ton is 23.92. And this is a 9-shot autoloader at Era 3. It costs expensively, and you can actually still buy this tank. It's 14,000 gold, and I just recently did a video on this tank, so go watch that. At number 6, which is one of the 3-way ties between the TCM, the Mobat, and our number 5th spot. So the Mobat goes 72.4. and its horsepower per ton is 32.58. This is a Era 2 heavy tank, premium. And yes, this is a heavy tank that has the top speed as the TCM AGS, but it also has 9 more horsepower per ton. So this Mobat, this heavy tank, can outrun the TCM. Will get up to its top speed faster than the TCM AGS, which is a light tank, can get up to its top speed. So these are competitions that light tanks have to fight with, and they needed the concealment. But that's a different video. This is top 10 fastest Cold War tanks. So number 5 is actually a tank I do not own, so yeah. It's the BMP-3, a Tier 3, Era 3 Eastern Alliance tank. Our first Eastern Alliance, and I believe the only Eastern Alliance on this list. At 72.4 horsepower per ton is a 35.05. This is the top light tank of the Eastern Alliance. So, you made it this far in, so if you apparently you made it this far in, you must like the content, so consider subscribing because it's free and you help out the channel out a lot, and you can always unsubscribe later, so thank you. So at number 4 is going to be the Arctic Hits at 72.5. This is a Era 2 Independence Alliance, yes, and its horsepower per ton is a 26.43, and also this is a tank that you can no longer get. Sad. And light tank, and let's move on to the next one at the number 3 spot. The number 3 spot is the Hits at 75.6, and it has a horsepower per ton at 27.19. This is a Era 2 light tank, premium, Independence Alliance, and you can no longer get this tank because it was part of the G.I. Joe update. Moving on to number 2. This is the number 2 spot is the second fastest tank in Cold War and the second fastest tank in the entire game. This tank actually goes faster than the Snakebite, which used to be the fastest tank in World of Tanks console, and is the fastest tank in World War II. And believe it or not, it's a heavy tank. This tank goes 80.5, and this tank is a Era 2 premium heavy tank called the Cat with the Independence Alliance. So yeah, the Cobra Cat. No longer, you can't buy this tank anymore. Also, the horsepower per ton is a 23.02. Number 2 is at 80.5. It's a heavy tank. This tank can chase down light tanks, and it's fun too, and just ram them over. So let's move on to the number 1 spot. The number 1 spot, this is the fastest tank in the game, World War II or Cold War. No matter where you go, number 1 spot, which is the Armadillo, a Era 2 premium light tank called the Armadillo. Now this tank actually recently got nerfed. It's one of the few premium tanks that's ever got nerfed, but the top speed stayed pretty much the same, was never touched at 82.5 with a horsepower per ton at 39.17. And I believe that horsepower per ton is the highest on the list. So, yeah. And you can no longer get this tank. Sad. But anyway, that's it for this video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Also remember to SLAPAFISH because why was not. And peace out. See ya.